Commissioner Gifford,
Here.
Commissioner Stanton,
Here.
Commissioner Adams. Excused for now.
Excuse.
Commissioner Brackey,
Here.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Here.
Commissioner Zink,
Here.
Commissioner Hickey,
Here.
Commissioner Tebow,
Excuse.
Commissioner Beatty,
Here.
Vice Chair Hall,
You're muted, Kathy. Okay. Here.
and Chair Stewart.
Thank you. And I'm here and I see that Commissioner Adams is here as well.
Great.
Thanks very much. So we'll call the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda are public comments. One of the comments was provided to us yesterday and it'll go into the minutes meeting, but we also have with us Mayor Karspeck of Berthoud, who would like to address us this morning. And there's the comment from yesterday that will go into our meeting minutes. And now I'd like to invite Mayor Karspeck to speak to us.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is William Karspeck, and I'm the proud mayor of the town of Berthoud. And I wanted to come before you to express my sincere appreciation, along with that of the Board of Trustees and the Berthoud community, regarding your decision to award an incredible $6.5 million towards the mobility hub at the interchange of State Highway 56 and Interstate 25. I just wanted to let you know that in the days following your decision, I can't truly give justice to the surprised and even stunned faces of individuals in Berthoud that have learned about the stimulus project. And in addition, I will not be able to properly express right now what this project will do for jobs and well-being in the short term as the mobility hub is constructed, as well as in the long term, and how this will stimulate Berthoud in so many facets, including increases to employment stability, reduced accidents and deaths, recreation and entertainment, and an overall improvement of transportation reliability, comfort, and convenience. Along with the inspiring work and long hours that our regional transportation director, Heather Paddock, has put into this project, the advocacy of Commissioner Brackey, I wish to relate how inspired I am as both a citizen and an elected official at how quickly you as the commission have delivered federal funds to make this project a reality. Transit is not always a topic that inspires individuals, but now through this mobility hub, we will be able to show our town and our region that public transportation doesn't just have to get you from point A to point B, but it can be surprisingly luxurious and even fun. This project is impressive in itself. However, it is something else entirely when a government agency can set a national example on how to swiftly turn federal stimulus funds into immediate quality projects that will serve long after the economic downturn. I will continue to work to relay all the benefits of this project to the region. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, and I look forward to a time where I can thank you in person and celebrate and commemorate this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mayor. We sure appreciate you coming and talking to us, and we look forward to watching progress on that mobility hub in Berthoud. Thank you.
Thank you all. It's my pleasure.
Seeing no other public comments, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is the comments of chair and individual commissioners. And I'll start with Commissioner Gifford, please.
Nothing for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stanton.
Oh, thanks, Chair Stewart. I want to thank Mayor Karspeck. We don't often get positive response, and especially during this time, I really appreciate his kind words, and it gives us inspiration for moving ahead. The other thing I wanted to do is thank CDOT workers. We're going on almost a year of COVID, and I think that the employees have done a superb job. The maintenance crews, everyone who's had to adjust. And I really think Colorado's Department of Transportation serves as a real example in that. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Commissioner Adams.
I have no comments today.
Thank you. Commissioner Brackey. You're muted, Commissioner Brackey.
I'm sorry, I was having a technology issue. I just want to say good morning. And again, thank you to Mayor Karspek for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and so excited to be at this point in the new year and be able to move forward so quickly with the new federal stimulus dollars and really to make a difference in our communities and all the things that you said. It's really how transportation can be transformational for our community members and for our community. So a huge thanks to you and to Heather Paddock for all the work that's being done. I'm optimistic and looking forward in 2021 to hopefully additional opportunities for state and federal funding as well. And again, thankful that we have a very robust statewide plan to work from and to continue working forward with our 10-year pipeline of projects, both for the highway projects as well as the transit projects. So it's a really exciting time. So I'm looking forward to the new year. And again, thank you so much, Mayor, for being here with us today.
Thank you. Commissioner Vasquez?
I just want to take a minute to express some excitement about the greenhouse gas pollution reduction roadmap that's been released. It's going to be very complicated and require all of us throughout the state to participate in achieving these goals, and the transportation piece is no less complicated than any other. So I look forward to participating in the listening session that's been set up for the 28th to hear feedback from the public on these goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hall?
Am I unmuted, I hope?
You are.
Good, thank you. Good morning. Gosh, there's been so much really good information I've enjoyed. Just wanted to mention that I sat in on the STAC meeting this last Friday, and it was lots of new members because lots of the members were not elected, and so there's a lot of new ones. With all the new members, it was a pretty fast meeting, as Vince can talk about, because not a lot of them had a lot to say, but I'm sure that will change a lot as they get more ingrained into the STAC and how important they are to our decision making. Kind of excited. We had a meeting with our Grand Valley transportation group. They elected this last week, I think it was a week ago, where we are going to have the start of a true multimodal Greyhound, who has been serving this area and been in the same location for 74 years, is giving up their location, and they're going to, along with Mustang, join in the same location as our local transportation group. And hopefully that'll move into a larger group as we move along and work with the locals. So I'm kind of excited about the fact that we have a start on a multimodal, a true multimodal right here in Grand Junction. And that's all I have for this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Zink?
Thank you. I'll just say good morning, and other than the STAC meeting that Kathy was also at, that's about the only transportation thing I've delved into, except that I want to report that I've failed miserably at talking Mike McVaugh out of leaving CDOT. So I would ask that I be given a couple minutes at the time of recognition to say a few good things about Mike.
We should hold you responsible for letting him go.
I tried.
He's so valuable. We'll miss him terribly.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible to hear, but yes, of course you can have time at the recognition time, and thank you for being willing to do that. Commissioner Hickey?
Thank you. Good morning, all. First, I want to say a big thank you to Director Liu and all of her staff who have been excellent at helping me to be onboarded as a commissioner. I have had to learn a lot. I also especially appreciated all the patient listening from Rich Zamora, the Region 2 Transportation Director, because I've asked him all sorts of bizarre questions that aren't probably ones he is used to answering, but he's patiently passing me on to where I need to go. And really, from bottom to top, everyone has been excellent. And I've learned a lot. I recall learning to swim, and I was the one that would cautiously, sit on each step and gradually get into the pool. But this hasn't been anything like that, of course. It's been plug my nose and do a cannonball into the deep end. And it's working, though, because the staff and all the professionals in CDOT have been excellent. I have attended a lot of meetings, including the PPACG meetings, and I attended most of the STAC meeting, and finding those to be very helpful, and appreciate being able to sit on the 3 committees I'm sitting on too. So just looking forward to learning more and certainly meeting all of you in person soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Beatty. You're muted, Commissioner Beatty.
Always forget the buttons. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of meetings. Have been having some feedback with CDOT staff on just some budget items, digging into kind of our maintenance and how some of that's working in the funding levels. Trying to figure out how we can increase our preventive maintenance so we can try to slow the growth of our need for reconstructions and things. That's kind of my end goal on a statewide basis, is just trying to figure out how we can slow the growth of the need for reconstruction and the major rehabs that we're facing statewide, especially the rural areas. And then the other that was mentioned yesterday in our freight advisory was looking at long range and changes in freight movement with rail and things that's being proposed on the statewide level, and how we need to try to prepare and look at how we fit all that together and make sure we're planning for the longer range future. Some of these things will be developing over the next 10, 20 years, but we have to kind of have a plan in place now, I believe, as CDOT, and have at least a better understanding of how those changes are going to affect flow and developments and things as we're seeing lots of people move to Colorado. And I think that's just going to increase as we come out of with the recovery from COVID. Just the number of people we're even seeing in our rural communities come in from all over the country. Hawaii, New Jersey, New York. We have people working in our small towns out here that are moving to Colorado for whatever reasons. And I think that's just going to continue. And obviously, a lot of them will focus into that front range, and we need to be planning how we're going to manage all the services and things that those people are going to demand, and meet our transportation demand management goals and the greenhouse goals and all those. And some of that, big part of that is the freight and how we tie all those needs together on a statewide basis. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to report that Rebecca White and I had a very good meeting, I think, with Mayor Ashley Stoltzman from Louisville, who is now the Dr. Cog rep to STAC, and gave her some information about CDOT and the Transportation Commission, and how we make policy, and how we appreciate input from the STAC and the important role that STAC plays. And I thought the meeting was a very good meeting, and I look forward to knowing that Ashley will be working with the STAC group in those meetings that come before us. I also like to say, I've said this yesterday, but I've also like to give kudos to Director Liu, Chief Engineer Harrelson, and CFO Jeff Sudemeyer, who went in front of the JBC on January 5th and gave a very lengthy, thorough report, answering questions that they had been asked, but also giving a big overview of how we do our business, the kinds of services that we provide, all of the things that we're responsible for, and some complex issues like procurement were given a lot of information out there, and I think it was really well received, and I'm really proud of the CDOT staff and all of us at CDOT for the kinds of work that we do. And I think the JBC were fairly impressed with the report, and I appreciate being the fly on the wall at that meeting, and thanks very much for doing that. It was a great presentation. And then finally, I want to thank all of you for yesterday. We had a very long meeting yesterday. When we finished, I went back to YouTube and watched the inauguration, and I feel like I'm, I just woke up because it took so long to get through that. But we really talked about a lot of important things yesterday and set the stage for a number of the things we'll be working on in 2021. So just want to thank all of you for hanging in there, and particularly Commissioner Beatty and his group on freight. That went until, I'm thinking it was like 5:35 or something like that last night. And so really appreciate all the extra work everybody put in yesterday. So onward, here we go into the official transportation meeting today with our executive management report from Director Liu. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Chair Stewart. Never a dull moment over here as we sort of work through the tail end of construction season and head into the next. Over the last month or so, we've made some good end of season progress on specific projects, heading into getting too cold for major construction work. And, we're very, very pleased with how we're leaving the season in terms of a lot of work having gotten done over this past year. Just a couple of notable items. We talked last month about the work we've done on rural roads, but, the fact that we've made progress on 580 miles of rural roads this season is just, I think, for me, one of the signatures of what we accomplished last year. We had the opportunity to go with Senator Bennett to visit the progress on the GAP project just about a week ago, and it was really exciting to be able to sort of see and experience just how well that project is coming along with the stretch that's basically finished. I mean, driving it is a much different experience than it was 6-12 months ago, because you can really see about a third of the project being essentially done. Heading into next year, we're obviously excited to be hitting the ground running on spending our stimulus funds. I think we are the first state to commit our dollars to specific projects thanks to the plan that we had ready to go. I haven't seen anybody else do it. And you heard from the mayor, just how impactful these projects are in real communities. So the fact that we were able to come together on such short notice to be able to put our dollars to work is just very exciting and indicative of how ready we are to make further progress. Heading into the legislative session, as folks know, there's obviously lots of good debate about transportation, including conversation around the governor's stimulus proposal, and really just a lot of progress on that front moving forward. I would end by echoing what Commissioner Zink said about this being Mike's last meeting. It's sort of hard to believe. I'm not sure I've fully come to terms with the reality that it's Mike's last commission meeting, but obviously, really end of an era for us, and we'll miss him so much. But I think when I think about Mike's departure, the first thing that I think about is how good a team he's leaving behind to be able to pick up the work without without missing a hitch. And in some ways, the mark of good management is when you leave a deep bench who can pick up when you leave. And for him to be able to go without having to worry about continuity on all of the things he's worked at, I just think is a real testament to Mike. And we'll miss him terribly, but that's a pretty amazing accomplishment to leave, along with just the progress on projects like 550, 160, which was his passion for a really long time. So I think we'll have more opportunities to say goodbye. Maybe even some standing far apart from each other at a park with masks on. But really just a big kudos, and look forward to having more opportunity to talk about that during recognitions. Thanks.
Thank you.
One more, may I add one more thing?
Yes.
Late breaking news that the press release just went out that our very own Sophie Schulman is going to be the Deputy Chief of Staff at the U.S. Department of Transportation. So, and I know we've all been rooting for her to land, but was pretty excited to see that news. And lots of other really wonderful people going over there, including John Putnam from CDPHE is heading over there to the council's office, but thought that Sophie's news would be of particular importance to this group, as we've all been cheering for her.
Thank you for that announcement. We're all very pleased for Sophie, and our loss, the country's gain, I guess. So thanks very much. Chief Engineer's report, please, Steve Harrelson.
Yes, hello, Commission. I've got a couple of things to talk about today. One is big numbers, the other is small numbers. So we've kind of been closing the books on 2020, and some exciting news. We set a new record on the amount of contractor payments we made last year. We spent $809 million on direct contractor payments on construction, which is a new record. It blew the old record out of the water, which was $716 million in 2016. The 4-year average over the last 4 years was 656. So we were able to build 23% more infrastructure last year in the midst of a pandemic. And I think that's a huge credit to both CDOT staff and the contracting industry that we could set a record with, one hand tied behind our back, really, with the pandemic. So I just wanted to big shout out to everyone at CDOT and all of our contracting partners that, that is a huge accomplishment. And I guess looking forward, right now we're working on drawdown projections on projects this year, and we're looking at 827. So maybe we can set another record next year and keep this momentum going. Now to talk about small dollars. We talked a little bit yesterday about how we're fighting to get costs down in our overhead and our indirect pools. And one little effort that we're doing is a phone product called Jabber. It is a phone that runs over the internet, and it saves $18 a month per line. And so we're not sure, there's a little bit of reluctance to jump into the unknown. So we're kind of doing a pilot project. Some people are going to hook up to Jabber. I got my software yesterday, and as soon as this meeting's over, I'm going to see if I can get it installed. But if, $18 a month per phone line, that's a couple $100 a year. And, you do that over hundreds or thousands of phones, and it turns into hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's just an example of where we're looking for small dollar savings. And, hopefully maybe that 827 million will be 827 and a couple 100,000 because we're not spending it on phones. So that's my small number analysis. And in conclusion, I'd like to jump on the bandwagon with Mr. Fhwa. I will definitely miss working with him. He is an engineer's engineer. Every time I'm in a meeting with him, I'm always shocked at the level of expertise he has in a wide variety of specialties. Most engineers, come up through one specialty, whether it's traffic or materials or hydraulics or whatever, and they're experts at that one field. But Mike's an expert at materials. Mike's an expert at design. Mike's an expert at construction. Mike's an expert at traffic modeling. There's nothing this guy doesn't know about. So I think everybody should applaud him and realize what a great engineer we're losing. And I think younger engineers should try to emulate his work. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's not your new phone ringing, is it? Your Jabber phone.
No, that's my old phone.
Oh, it's your old phone. Next, we'll have HPT Director's Report. Nick Farber, thanks.
Thank you, Chair Stewart. So the HPT board had a really full agenda yesterday, probably one of our busiest meetings in a long time. The board approved 3 items. We're seeking your approval later on today. And one of those was the updated CDOT HPT Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, which I'll talk about in a second. Lifting the unsolicited proposal moratorium on I-270, I-25 north from just north of segment 1 all the way up to segment 8, and on the CDOT HPT interagency agreement on the I-70 Mountain Express lanes. The board also approved an amendment to the I-25 North Segment 3 Bank of America loan to eliminate the cross default and margin rate factor positions, saving CDOT, or excuse me, HPTE about $200,000 a year in costs. And lastly, the board approved the refinancing of the 2014 eastbound Mountain Express lane loan. Our interest rate is around 2.74% currently, which equates to about a little over almost $700,000 in interest a year. And we're taking that down to about $100 and I think $6,000 a year in interest, is about a little over $500,000 in interest savings a year for the HPTE, which we're really excited about. In regards to the memorandum of understanding, or MOU, at the HPT board retreat last year, the board directed staff to update certain governance documents that we've had. One of those documents was the 2013 MOU between CDOT and HPT that centered on clarifying the roles between the newly created Office of Major Project Development, or OMPD, which the HPT assumed in 2017. Since then, HPT has matured into a dedicated P3 office with 108 lane miles of express lanes and 115 under construction. The revised MOU concentrates on the services HPT and CDOT offer and how we coordinate. It looks at the relationship at a high level and references other documents like interagency agreements and our fee-for-service agreement we have with CDOT. As we've grown into a successful tolling operator, we've had challenges and growing pains and around the operations of maintenance of express lanes. It doesn't address those items specifically. Instead, it refers to a new interagency agreement we're working on with John Lord May's staff and developing to address the challenges both HPT and DMO face when trying to work around the operations and maintenance of express lanes. The MOU is in your packet and is a culmination of months of effort between HPT and CDOT staff. Also, we're working not in regards to the MOU, but in terms of other things we're working on. We're still continuing to work diligently with the United States Build America Bureau on the I-25 North Tiffy loan. We're really close to submitting a final letter of interest, and we're about to start the indicative rating process on that with the Fitch Rating Agency. And as I said, we over the last month we've been working really hard on the eastbound Mountain Express lane refinancing loan with Wells Fargo, which the interagency agreement you'll be approving later today. And that's all I have for the director's report, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Is there someone who has a question for Nick? No, just feedback? All right. Thanks very much, Nick. We'll go on to FHWA Division Administrator's report on Caterer, please. Hi, John.
All right, good morning. Have a few things here for you. First off, as Director Liu mentioned, we're getting a lot of appointments in nationally at both the U.S. Department of Transportation and at Federal Highway specifically. And for Federal Highway, they've made an announcement for our deputy administrative position. That's going to be Stephanie Pollock, who's the current secretary of the Massachusetts DOT. So she's got a strong resume in transportation, not only working at the DOT there, but with the MBTA and other agencies in the Boston area. So looking forward to having her come on board. No announcement yet for who's going to be the administrator, but it's quite, it's not surprising at all. We haven't got everybody's named yet. We're only on the first day of the new administration. So, but lots of announcements. And as Director Liu mentioned, Sophie Schulman is going to be working in the Office of Policy as I believe it's the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. So congratulations to her, and nice to see someone with a Colorado connection be appointed there. I want to talk about a little bit today about where we are with fatalities and safety on our system here. We're getting the reports in for the 2021 calendar year now. And, as we all know, we had less traffic than we had last year. but yet our fatalities are up at least 10, maybe a little bit more when all the numbers come in. And so we're going in the wrong direction there. And in reading those fatality reports, it seems like two major things, probably not surprising. One is speed. And we're not talking people going 75 and a 65. We're talking about people going 105 and a 65, and just risk taking that's just extreme. And then we're also talking about there's a huge number of pedestrian fatalities, and they tend to be at night. They tend to be walking against the light or in an unprotected area, and it's very frustrating. What do we do? There's thousands and thousands of miles of streets and highways here in Colorado, and one solution is, well, we can put out lighting. Well, many of these areas are lit already. Some of them aren't, but we're kind of running out of infrastructure things we can do. I think we're going to need to look at lots of solutions, but going forward, I really want to just kind of highlight this as I think a priority area going forward for all of us in transportation, because we're losing more people in doing about their daily business in the transportation system, and we have to find ways to help reduce that. So it's not going to be one single solution, but I just want to put that at the top of the agenda, that safety has got to be something we focus on in all our activities this year. Final thing I want to mention is Mike Fhwa, and I'm definitely going to miss Mike. Mike first started working with him when he was the traffic engineer for Region 5, and the thing I loved about Mike was Mike wasn't afraid to try something new, try something different, try something that hadn't been done in Colorado before, or maybe anywhere before. Mike could try it, and most of the time it worked. Not always, but nearly always it did. And that's how we learn. That's how we get better, is by trying things. And Mike was never afraid to do that. So really enjoyed working with him as a traffic engineer. He got promoted up to be the RTD. Again, doing great work there. And as I said a few months ago, he and his team have pulled off that 550-160 job that not many people would be able to pull off with all the challenges they've had there. And they did it, and they've done it in an exemplary manner. So Mike, I just want to wish you my very best for you going forward. And you're certainly going to be missed here in the transportation community. So thank you so much. That's it.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Next, we'll have Vince Rogalski do the staff report. Welcome.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes. It's Kathleen. Are you wanting to speak?
Yes, please. And I think Commissioner Beatty also had a comment after John's.
I see that.
Okay.
Commissioner Beatty and then Commissioner Adams, I believe. Thank you.
So thank you, John, for your report. And I really appreciate you flagging the pedestrian fatalities. That was a really startling and disconcerting article when I read that as well. Not only are pedestrian fatalities up across the country, I think over 55%, they're up over 89% in Colorado. And so our challenge continues to get bigger, and that's a steeper hill to climb to achieve our Vision Zero goals. But we've got to find solutions to do this. We've got to prioritize our road design to protect our vulnerable users. People do need to walk at night. They need to access transit stops at night, and we have a lot of people trying to use the system. And so I agree with you that there's no one magic answer to this, but I really appreciate you flagging it for us. And it's something that we need to continue to focus on with our work in the commission and in our prioritizing our investment as we go forward, if we're truly going to make a difference and save people's lives. So thank you for raising that.
Thanks, Commissioner Brackey. Commissioner Beatty.
Yeah, we must have all been seeing the same articles. I'd seen several coming up last week on this. Yeah, it is concerning with the pedestrians. Kind of looking through at least the article information, I would like to see kind of the full data on these, but a lot of them, a large percentage, are crossing at non-crosswalks or the unprotected areas. And I think, as John mentioned, we need to really look at some education for pedestrians also. Is that, yeah, it's maybe shorter to try to cut across that road at mid-block, but your vehicles aren't necessarily looking, and especially at night, visibility just makes it much more difficult. So I think we do need some education piece to push out for pedestrians and bicyclists both, that you still have to acknowledge and make sure people are seeing you because you are the most vulnerable, and then use the infrastructure that is provided for the safe crossings and stopping the traffic for you and those different things. So and then also I noticed in the report that I think it was 35% of the fatalities involved alcohol with the pedestrians. So drunk walking is an issue, the poor decision making. And with the speeding issues, I think it comes back to, again, personal responsibilities. We have to make people realize they are responsible for their own safety and their behaviors, and make sure that they're held accountable if they are breaking those laws in a speedy manner, or at least acknowledge that they were in the wrong also. We can't make all infrastructure safe for everybody all at the same time. So personal responsibility and self-education is a big piece.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams?
John, again, I would echo the same points as Commissioner Brackey and Commissioner Beatty. I do believe we do have an infrastructure issue with the lighting and certainly in Denver. I certainly have observed that as a person who's lived in a lot of other metropolitan areas, that it seems that our lighting is deficient compared to other places. I've had guests from out of town make that observation to me immediately once they've driven around and been in Denver, that we do seem darker when you travel our streets. Now, having said that, we can't fix the infrastructure. So I agree with Commissioner Beatty that I think we have to do more with education. Now, personally, I do take my strolls in the evening, and it gets dark here sometimes as early as 5 o'clock this time of the year, but I've resorted to wearing a reflective vest because I do believe that when I wear dark clothing, the drivers can't see me, and there's just no way, and you're highly subjected to it. So I do think if we're to achieve our objectives of zero fatalities, then I think we have to do more from an education standpoint, and hopefully we can get the message. But I think it does require a lot more effort on our part and the municipalities' parts in order to do something about this problem, because it is a tragedy. I haven't encountered a lot of drunk walking, Commissioner Beatty, but I certainly don't doubt that it's out there. So we do need to do what we can to change the behaviors.
Thank you. Commissioner Stanton?
Thanks, Chair. I want to thank Commissioner Beatty for bringing this up, personal responsibility. I think this goes beyond CDOT a little bit, but as we're trying to get people more using bikes to walk to work, to even use scooters, the personal responsibility is key. If you go by any bar in the old days before COVID, you would see a whole lineup of scooters. So these people are riding without helmets, et cetera. And there needs to be more education in the city of Denver and other places in that space, because just because you're on a scooter and not using a car doesn't mean you're less safe. And the other thing I'll note, Paul Jositis sent out Region 1 safety figures. And once again, motorcyclists with helmets and without helmets is on the increase up. So there's a problem with speed and personal responsibilities. Commissioner Beatty said, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If there's no other comments on Mr. Caterer's report, let's move on to the staff report then.
Okay, good morning, commissioners. One of the things I want to do is to thank the commissioners that attended the STAC meeting last week. It's always important to have your input if you care to give any during that time. And also, like I said last report at the last month, if commissioners want the STAC to do anything or work on anything, just let us know and we'll put something together. Okay, the first thing we talked about on our meeting was an update from Herman Stockinger about what's going on. And one of the things that encouraged us is the fact that CDOT is expecting $500 million in phase 3 of Senate Bill 267. And so we'll be working on that. STAC will be working on that, and TC will work on that, probably starting in April. CDOT is seeking approval on hiring more people. I think you talked about that yesterday. Herman also gave us the news that Karen Schneider's and Mike McVaugh are leaving. And that Mike McVaugh, as everybody has been saying, has really been an influence in transportation. And I can attest to that too, because half of my TPR that I also represent is covered by Region 5, and Mike was important in trying to move some things along there. And so we're going to miss Mike. And like others have said, he's got great skills in all kinds of areas. We had a legislative report from Andy Karsinian, and the first topic was talking about the COVID stimulus and legislative rules, and the legislator will be back in session again shortly. Some of the things they talked about is the fact that maybe there's going to be some transportation fees, and STAC asked about an increase in tax, a gas tax, and it doesn't appear that there's any interest in pursuing that particular area. One of the things that's always important and something that we need to continue on is a report on our statewide plan implementation update. You know, we spent almost 2 years working on the statewide plan for 2045, and sometimes it seems like it goes on the shelf and away we go. But we're getting some updates on what's going on in a number of projects that are being completed and a number of projects in the mill. And one of the other things is we talked also about dashboards. And one of the things that CDOT's come up with, especially in terms of the 10-year plan, is including a story maps online that include project fact sheets, periodic report cards, and links to accountability and transparency in tracking the tools that we need to ensure that we're making some progress. And that particular address is ytp.codot.gov. And we had an example of that, and it presented some interesting things. So if people are asking about projects, we can refer them there, and they can get a lot more information that we may remember at the particular time. Stimulus package and Senate Bill 267 and third year update. We had an update about that in terms of what's the possibilities, and talked a little bit about equity in regions 1, 2, 3, and 5, and hopefully maybe with the third year of 267, some of that may be accomplished. The question that Stack had was following year 2 investments of 267 and COVID, $100 million was pulled from North I-25, resulting in the need to pursue transportation infrastructure finance. And everybody was assured that nothing is being slowed down or taken away from I-25, that the money will be allocated when necessary, and that everything is still proceeding ahead. Grant programs. It's interesting to see that we still have a lot of grant money out there, specifically in 2 different grant programs. The Community Tele Work Program, which has $5,000 to $10,000 grants, and 27 projects were awarded, funding $124,000. And then we have another Main Street, revitalizing Main Street, and $2 million funding this year, with a total of $6.1 million total. And there's still about $3 million, I think, left over that's not been applied for. So we need to encourage our people to start looking into that in terms of our municipalities. And the Tele Network grant is also available to nonprofits. So that's an interesting thing in terms of broadband, although broadband is very expensive and the grants are small, but it might help out in some small ways. let's see, we had a review of 1601. You had a long review that Aaron put together that was really well stated yesterday. And so the stack had a small one, and Aaron did a wonderful job there. Stack is looking for a couple of volunteers to be on the freight program and the safe routes to schools. We've got representation now, and they're willing to continue, but they're also willing to step down if there are people who are interested in taking a committee seat on the freight or the state routes, safe routes to schools. And let's see, the DTD staff will be offering stack training to the new people. We got a lot of new people, and as was brought up before, a lot of them aren't quite ready to kind of participate in the stack discussion because they're just so new, but hopefully we can get some encouragement to them so that they can participate fully in that. And I think that's all I have right now, unless there's some questions.
Thanks for your report. I have Commissioner Adams who wants to speak.
My only comment is, Vince, I haven't had a chance to attend a lot of the stack meetings, but I also was on the call for the stack meeting. I was impressed by the management of the meeting on your part and the group of people who were in attendance. And I think it was either Commissioner Zink or Commissioner Hall who indicated that a lot of them were new. And I know they have more history in how these normally take place. And so I do look forward to being in attendance at future meetings. And I did find it very informative, and I know that it will only add to my knowledge as a commissioner. So look forward to joining you for future meetings.
You know, we have 15 members from around the state and 2 Indian tribes. And yet I'm impressed at the number of people who attend. I'm watching the numbers, and we're up over the 70s in terms of the people who don't participate necessarily, but are attending and listening what's going on at the stack meeting. So yes, I agree with you there. Other comments or questions?
Thanks very much for your report. I appreciate it. And we're going to move on to consent agenda. Thank you. We have 7 items on the consent agenda today. Proposed resolution number 1, approve the regular meeting minutes of December 16th, 2020. Item 2 is proposed resolution number 2, IGA approval for over $750,000. Proposed resolution number 3, disposal of State Highway 103 parcel 1EX. Proposed resolution number 4, disposal of State Highway 9 MP 83-83.5. Proposed resolution number 5, referral of CDOT Region 3 access appeal to the Office of Administrative Courts. Proposed resolution number 6, State Infrastructure Bank loan application, and proposed resolution number 7, Policy Directive 1609.0, Transportation Asset Management. Are there any questions or comments on this consent agenda? All right, seeing none, motion is in order.
I'll move for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Zink is motion maker, and the second is Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion? Is there anyone who wishes to abstain from voting on this motion? Anyone voting in opposition to this motion? All right, seeing none, we call this as unanimous approval of the consent agenda. Thank you. The next item is discuss and act on proposed resolution number 8. It's condemnation authorization. I'll turn this over to Chief Engineer Harrelson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. For those of you who have not been watching the chat screen, you may be seeing me in green, so I apologize for that. I've got some challenges with my video card, but until that's done, you can call me Kermit. So if you're seeing me in green. This resolution is to condemn 2 ownerships along I-25 with the express lanes segment 6 up in Weld County. We went over these parcels yesterday at the workshop, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. So yesterday at the workshop, we reviewed the map, the project need for condemnation, communication offers, counter offers with property owner. And I'm wondering if there's anyone here from the public who wishes to speak to this item.
I have not received any requests.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commission? All right, seeing none, a motion is in order. You identify yourself if you're the motion maker.
Commissioner Brackey, I move to approve.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Is there a
Vasquez, I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion now the motion's on the floor? All right. Anybody who wishes to abstain from this vote? Is there anybody who votes in opposition to this? Seeing none, the chair will call this as unanimous approval of resolution number 8. Thank you. The next item is discuss and act on proposed resolution number 9, which is also a condemnation authorization. Chief Engineer Harrelson.
Yes, this condemnation is for a single ownership, some parcels, some both easements and right of way in Garfield County on Highway 13 between Rifle and Meeker. We discussed the property yesterday and at the workshop, and I would be happy to answer any questions if any have arisen overnight.
Thank you. And I just wanted to make the record known that Commissioner Tebow is back with us. Thank you. I think that was prior to the last condemnation. That's right. All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Bill Tebow here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have notified you that I joined the meeting late, unfortunately, and I apologize. But I have been present for all resolutions. And I think the record should just show that I'm supporting all resolutions up to this point, as well as this one.
Thank you very much. So yesterday in the workshop, we had an overview, including the map and project need for condemnation and acquiring property, which we had the communication offers, counter offers with property owner. Is there anyone, Jennifer, from the public wishes to speak on this?
No, ma'am, I haven't received any requests.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
Madam Chairman, this is Kathy Hall. I move for the approval of resolution number 9.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Vasquez, I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Is there anyone on the commission that wishes to abstain from this vote? Is there anyone on the commission who's voting in opposition to this? All right, seeing none, the chair calls this as a unanimous approval of proposed resolution number 9. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is discuss and act on proposed resolution number 10, which is the 6th budget amendment of FY 2021. Jeff.
Good morning. The 6th amendment includes 3 items. The first is an amendment to the strategic projects and STP Metro programs to recognize approximately $149 million in additional federal revenue received through the recent COVID relief stimulus package and the fiscal year 21 federal appropriations bill. The second item is a request to approve a $19.5 million loan from the TC Program Reserve to the State Highway 21 Research Parkway Interchange Project in Region 2. This, again, was a stimulus project you approved a couple of months ago. That amendment would decrease the TC Program Reserve line by $19.5 million and increase the Strategic Projects line by the same amount. And then the third amendment is a request to temporarily increase the department's full-time equivalent FTE cap by 5 term-limited FTEs for a 2-year period. And these additional positions, as we discussed yesterday, are being requested to help manage the surge in IGAs and grant agreements associated with recent new funding sources and programs. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'd request you consider a motion to approve.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion from the commission? Comments or questions?
I move that we approve the proposed resolution number 10, approving the 6th budget amendment for fiscal year 2021.
And also,
This is Commissioner Adams. I will second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Is there anyone on the commission who wishes to abstain from this vote? Is there anyone on the commission who's voting in opposition to this? All right, thank you. Seeing none, we'll call this as unanimous approval of proposed resolution number 10. Thank you. Next on the agenda is discuss and act on proposed resolution number 11, which is the I-70 Mountain Express Lanes Interagency Agreement. Nick Farber.
Thank you again, Chair Stewart. Back in 2014, HPT borrowed $25 million to help CDOT complete the eastbound Mountain Express Lane project. At that time, CDOT and HPT entered into an interagency agreement, or IAA, to help provide credit support for the HPTE. In 2019, we again entered into another interagency agreement for the westbound Mountain Express Lane project to account for the tolling operations and other O&M responsibilities on the project. Now, with the westbound Mountain Express Lane project nearing completion, with the HPT refinancing its 2014 loan, HPT and CDOT desire to consolidate both the eastbound and westbound IAAs into one IAA. Some of the key provisions are that HPT is responsible for the operations and maintenance of the express lanes, and CDOT is responsible for the O&M of the GP lanes. This is also the first IAA that changes the model on how HPT will reimburse CDOT for operations and maintenance expenses. Previously, CDOT invoiced HPT for all O&M based on a calculated pro rata share of the express lanes vehicles versus the general purpose lane vehicles. Over the last few years, that has proved cumbersome for both HPT and CDOT staff to figure it out. The data is really great in the express lanes because we have to have equipment that accurately counts all the cars, but it's really not that great it's kind of on and off for the general purpose lanes. Now, moving forward, the parties, CDOT and HPT, have decided that CDOT will provide a scope of work outlining the services to be rendered for the upcoming year, and HPT will then pay CDOT to conduct those services annually. The arrangement is similar to our fee-for-service agreement with CDOT, but in reverse. It also recognizes that the Transportation Commission will not be bound by budgetary and policy decisions made by this Transportation Commission, just in case HPT ever needs a backup loan for debt service or operations and maintenance costs if total revenue falls below what's needed to pay those expenses. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the new interagency agreement. And if not, I seek your approval for this item. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions?
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of resolution number 11, the I-70 Mountain Express Lane Interagency Agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Is there anyone on the commission who wishes to abstain from this vote? Is there anyone on the commission voting in opposition? Thank you. Seeing none, the chair calls this as unanimous approval of resolution number 11. Thank you, Nick. You have the next one as well. This is discuss and act on proposed resolution number 12.
Dave, that's the, let me just double check. That's more, that's the MOU, excuse me. So I went over the provisions of the memorandum of understanding and the director's report. If there are any questions about the allocation of responsibilities or how CDOT and HPD work together on projects, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, a motion is in order.
I move that we approve the proposed resolution number 12 regarding the HPTE and CDOT memorandum of understanding.
Second the motion, Commissioner Stanton.
Thank you. Further discussion? Is there anyone on the commission that wishes to abstain from the vote? Is there anyone on the commission who is voting in opposition? Seeing none, the chair calls this as unanimous approval of resolution number 12. Thank you. And then, Nick, we have discuss and act on proposed resolution number 13, which is lifting the unsolicited proposal moratoriums.
Thank you. Back in November, the Transportation Commission and the HPD board did a joint workshop on this item. The history of it is that back in 2012, CDOT and HPD imposed a moratorium on receiving unsolicited proposals on the Central 70 corridor, the I-270 corridor, and the I-25 North corridor. Right now, the HPD is recommending that the moratoriums be lifted on, for unsolicited proposals be lifted on the I-270 corridor and the I-25 North corridor from segment 2 all the way up to northern Colorado. We are recommending that we not lift the moratorium on the Central 70 project because we feel as though we have achieved the goal that we set out to back in 2012 when those moratoriums were imposed on the Central 70 project. The board approved this item yesterday, and we're seeking the Transportation Commission's approval on it today. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about this item.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the commission? I might just comment that sitting on HPTE, I'm happy to see this come forward. Members of the HPTE board have been in support of lifting these moratoriums and appreciate the thoughtful effort that went into it, and glad to see it in front of us today. That being said, is there a motion?
I so move, Commissioner Stanton.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vasquez, I'll second that motion for resolution 13.
Thank you very much. Is there any other discussion? Thank you. Anyone on the commission wanting to abstain from the vote? Is there anyone on the commission that's voting in opposition? Seeing none, the chair calls this as unanimous approval of resolution number 13. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Chair.
The next item is number 16, recognitions, and I'll defer to Commissioner Zink.
Thank you. It's great to hear other people around the state feel the same way about Mike that we do here in Region 5. I'm going to take a couple minutes to kind of chronicle his history with CDOT. After more than 28 years of service supporting CDOT and the public of Colorado, Mike is making the very tough decision to retire at the end of February. Mike began his work at CDOT as an intern in 1991. That's 30 years ago, people. During this time, he worked with Region 6, which is now Region 1, in design squad that designed the I-76 connection from I-25 to I-70. In the summer of 1992, he returned as an intern, working on the survey crew in Region 6, before being hired to a permanent position in Region 2, working in the materials lab. He helped to operate the lab and was a pavement asset manager for Region 2 until 1995, when he was transferred to Durango and Region 5. During his time at Region 5, he was an inspector, tester on projects, project engineer, materials engineer, traffic engineer, and ultimately the region director. Mike has been the director for Region 5 since 2016. Mike's most notable accomplishments over his career were building the Cortez Port of Entry, the projects he built on Wolf Creek Pass, supporting the 550-160 connection project, and being able to be innovative as region traffic engineer for 15 years before becoming RTD. On a more personal level, Mike has just been great to work with. For me, he's taught. We've spent over the years I've been on commission, we've spent many hours in the car between here, Durango, and Alamosa, going to TPR meetings over there. I think Mike has demonstrated to me and to others how to work with community leaders through those TPR meetings and across all of Region 5. And he's also demonstrated how to work with staff. I think I know he has the great respect of the staff who have been working with him and for him. I will make sure that Mike comes back for the interchange 550-160 ribbon cutting, and because I'm going to insist on being there as well, because I'll be off the commission by then. But I also want to say that Mike has become a real friend. I totally trust him and look to him for advice on a variety of things. And he's, again, just been so great to work with. Mike, we're going to miss you so much. Shall we make him say something?
Absolutely.
This is hard. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just make sure I'm not double muted. It is really a weird situation, and I'm a very fortunate person. To come out of college and have one job is really kind of a rare thing, I believe, nowadays. Like I told my team initially in our newsletter yesterday, I thought this was going to be a stepping stone and I would be moving into something else, but public service drew me in, and that's what I was here for. And I'm thankful for so many people. I can't even begin to list all the people that helped me to become who I am today. The very first person, many of you may know this person, his name was Larry Warner, and he was a program engineer in Region 6 many, many years ago. And I interviewed with him, and he got my foot in the door, and he got me in as that intern, and that's what got me to where I am today. And so the beginning is because of Larry and his wonderful insight. And Larry played a key role in T-Rex many years ago. So Larry went a long ways in helping the state also. I think the one thing, though, that is most important is my fellow RTDs. This job is not simple. As RTDs, we have to rely on one another. We have to talk to one another. Sometimes those are the only people we can really talk things through with. And you can't do this job alone. It's a tough job. And you're kind of like the heart of a body. You're also the nervous system of that body. You're also the lymph nodes of that body, because you got to keep it healthy. You have to give it the energy it needs to do its job. And you got to keep the bacteria and the poisons from affecting the body. And so, and all of that is to support you, the brain. the leadership that guides all of this. Because the brain, if it doesn't have a body, doesn't have a heart, there is no brain. And so it's just one of those things that I got to thank my RTDs, past and present, because they helped us all get to where we are today. And they helped me to really do better at what I do today. And so many of them have, you know, past RTDs I still call and ask questions to. I mean, that's the only way you can survive in this job. So with that being said, I don't want to go on too long, but it is a weird feeling. It's something that I can't put words to of how I feel about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. I hope you take a moment to read all the comments in the chat box. You're a well-liked and well-appreciated part of CDOT. We're really going to miss you. And I know Sydney's going to miss you a lot. I can see her crying in her beer for a while now. But our wine, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah. If there's anyone else who wants to make a comment, please do so.
Madam Chair, Shoshana had to jump to a meeting with the governor's office, but I know this was her spot to also take an opportunity to say thank you to Mike and explain just how much we're going to miss him. So I'll do that and just say that you know, when you're an RTD in Durango, you'd think it might be kind of tough to not only be the leader of your region, but be a leader in CDOT. And he really is the best example I have of somebody who's so far away, but still is not just a leader in his region, but a leader in so many things at CDOT, so many statewide committees that he participates in, so many statewide issues that he weighs in on and helps out with. That certainly Region 5 is going to miss him, but certainly CDOT as a whole and CDOT management's going to miss him too, because we rely on him so much.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, and then after you, Kathy, I have Mike Goolsby.
Well, I was going to say, can't we pass a resolution that he can't leave? I could propose a resolution that we won't let him retire. How about that?
I'll second that.
Okay.
I think that's called modern slavery, ladies. I don't think it works.
Oh, darn.
I already tried not to accept his resignation letter. It didn't work.
Mike Goolsby, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if I can do this or not. For those of you that don't know, Mike and I have crossed paths and been together for the better part of 20 years in different capacities. When Mike was the traffic engineer in Region 5, I was the ops on Red Mountain Pass and Molos and Coalbank Pass. And we had an old superintendent in Durango that called Mike a traffic puke and me a maintenance puke. And we were wet behind the ears until we didn't know any better. And he called us snot-nosed punk kids. From a fellow RTD, when I got this job, Mike told me, you don't have any idea what you're getting into. And I still don't have any idea what I'm getting into. But it's very hard for me to see one of my good friends go on to something else. But I could not pass up the opportunity to embarrass him in public and tell him I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss the text messages, the venting, the memes that he sends me on occasion that make me chuckle, the resource, and just, as you have all said numerous times, the professionalism and the wealth of knowledge that he has. So I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to start crying if I say anything else. So I'm going to miss you.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to miss you too.
Karen, can I say a few words?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, you know, Mike, I think you said it best. you know, the fellow RTDs really is a support system. And I just want to thank you for being the compass and sort of the North Star for us RTDs. It is a team. And when we have to represent the region and the people of the region, we all have a voice, but it takes sort of that united voice, and each of us have different strengths. And as Steve Harrelson mentioned, you know, Mike is very knowledgeable in so many areas, and I'm going to really appreciate just sort of your voice of reason, because we all might be saying something and you have a great way of pulling it all together to get that point across. And you know, I am still learning this job, just like Mike Goolsbee is. I feel like Richard feels the same way, and probably Paul does too. And so those phone calls, those text messages, I really appreciate that time you spent with me, because we do have a lot of decisions that we have to make, and you need another person as a sounding board. And I just appreciated all that you did for me and for CDOT. You will be greatly, greatly missed. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather. I'm going to miss you too.
What wonderful tributes to you, Mike. Jennifer wanted to remind me to remind you guys that, you know, we have an intern report out on February 3rd at 9:30 in the morning. And Mike is an awesome example of the importance of interns at CDOT, and hopefully an inspiration to others to consider hiring interns. And I think it speaks so much that, Mike, you've spent your whole career at CDOT having been exposed as an intern to the kinds of opportunities here. Thank you so much for your years of service to us. And you just have to look at all the comments in the chat box of how many people have appreciated your work, and how many people are really going to miss you. And that says a lot these days.
And Mike, even though I'm sorry to see you go, I do wish you great luck. And I'm glad that you're going to still be around Durango in the future. So, you know, maybe we'll have a cup of coffee.
Sydney, I didn't mention you. Thank you for everything. You've been wonderful to work with. You've been just a really good balance with how we manage with the local agencies and elected officials. And it's always been good to use you as a sounding board. So thank you very much. And I do really appreciate you as a friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So when we're able to meet again post-COVID, Mike, come back to CDOT and let us see you and see you in real life. And thank you for what you've done. So appreciate that. Are there any other recognitions to come before the commission today?
No.
All right, thank you. Any other matters to come before the commission today? No. Well, we'll call this commission as adjourned at 10:23, and we'll directly go into the Bridge Enterprise Board of Directors meeting. I'll ask Herman to call the roll, please.
Director Gifford?
Here.
Director Stanton?
Here.
Director Adams?
Here.
Director Brackey?
Here.
Director Vasquez?
Here.
Director Zink?
Here.
Director Hickey?
Here.
Director Tebow?
Here.
Director Beatty?
Here.
Vice Chair Hall?
Here.
Chair Stewart?
Here. Thank you. Public comments are next. Were there any public comments, Jennifer? I didn't see any.
No, ma'am, I haven't received anything for Bridge.
Thank you very much. The first order of business then is to act on the consent agenda. Proposed resolution BE number 1 to approve the regular meeting minutes of December 16th, 2020. Is there a motion?
Gary Beatty, I move to approve.
Thank you.
Second, Director Vasquez.
Thank you. There's a motion, a second on the table. Any commissioner wishing to abstain from voting? Any commissioner voting in opposition? All right, seeing none, the chair calls this as unanimous approval of proposed resolution BE1. Thank you. Next item is to discuss and act on proposed resolution BE2, which is the Bridge Enterprise 5th budget supplement for FY20. Jeff?
Hello, the 5th supplement includes 4 requests. The first is a request to increase the design phase budget for the final design of the I-70 over West 32nd Avenue Bridge Replacement Project in Region 1 with 1.2 million in faster bridge funds. Preliminary design on this project was previously funded, and the project is now requesting the remaining design funding in order to complete design and move forward. This is a top-tier structure in the July 2020 BE prioritization plan. The second is a request to establish the construction phase budget for the replacement of 2 structures on I-25 over South Academy Boulevard in Region 2 with just shy of 25 million in faster bridge funds. This is a key component of the much larger military access, mobility, and safety improvement project, or MAMSIP project, in Region 2, and those structures are also top-tier structures in the prioritization plan. The third request is a request to establish the construction phase budget for the I-70 over Forest Service Road concrete box culvert replacement in Region 3 with roughly 15.1 million in faster bridge funds. Also a top-tier structure in the July 2020 BE prioritization plan. And then the fourth and final request is a request to increase the design phase budget for the final design of a project to replace 7 eligible bridges as part of the Eastern Plains Timber Bridge replacement project in Region 4 with approximately 2.6 million in faster bridge funds. Initial design on this project was previously funded, and the project is now requesting the remaining design funding in order to complete design and advance to construction. 6 of the 7 bridges in this project are top-tier structures, and the 7th is a second-tier structure. Happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I'd request you consider a motion to approve.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? Or in this case, the directors? All right, seeing none, a motion to approve is in order.
I so move. Stanton.
Second, this is Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. Motion and a second on the table. Is there any director who wishes to abstain from the vote? Any director who wishes to vote in opposition to the motion? All right, seeing none, we'll call this as unanimous approval for proposed resolution BE2. Thank you very much, everyone. And Herman, if there's any other matters to come before the board of directors.
Nope.
Nope. All right, with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 10:28. Thank you all. We'll look forward to seeing you next month. Mike, we're going to miss you. And thank you very much for your time and attention these last 2 days and all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see everyone next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Aye.
Bye.